The legend himself, Taliesin Jaffe, may have just shared the biggest tip to make you a better D&D player, to improve the experience of you and all of the players and the DM at your table, and it's something that most people overlook. Anybody who has watched Critical Role knows that Taliesin is amazing at being ingrained in the story, his reactions, his one-liners. He is a true expert at being a D&D player. Now, what is one of the things that makes him so good? It is his active listening and living within the world and staying in character as often as possible. And this is something that was pointed out in a recent interview with Tech Raptor, and I suggest, I will link it down below, that you go give that whole interview a watch. It was fantastic. Kudos to Stretch for putting that one out there. Now, what specific thing did he say that I love? He said being an active listener and paying attention and getting yourself ingrained is what makes or breaks a D&D game. A table of players where nobody's listening to each other. They're only there to say their piece and to roleplay their character and not allow the world around them from the other players to be built out are the players that ruin D&D games.
It's active listening. Which there's nothing worse for a D&D game than people who don't listen.
He likened it to showing up to a coffee house where maybe there's an open mic night and the people who are there to simply not listen to anybody else. They go up, they do their piece, and they leave. They're not being the audience that they want to have.
Like going to a poetry reading at a coffee house and being like, you can see the poor people that are just waiting to go on, and they're going to leave the minute they're done. You're supposed to be participating, man. You be the audience that you want, and like 90% of being a player at a D&D table is being the audience for your friends. That's more important than, at least for me, that's more important in this particular type of game.
And that's exactly what he said. Be the audience at the table that you want to have. When the other players are having their monologue moment, or they're having that in-depth conversation with an NPC that the DM is having, or maybe even player to player, listen in. Pick up some of the finer details, be engaged in those stories, and that will not only make your other players feel better, but flesh out the world, give you ideas, allow you to then engage based on the things that you heard or the things that you saw, and it will give you so much more that will allow you to get into the game and role play with your peers.
And you're also not going to be as interesting. You're not going to have enough to say. You're not going to know how to relate to these people. And there is, I love physicality for characters, and being in that mind space means that you're actually sitting there forming opinions and having notions of the things you want to do with the other players, the things you want to say. And yeah, it's an active choice, because otherwise you're just looking at your character sheet waiting for you to say something pithy that doesn't relate to what's going on.
I know that I will be taking the words of wisdom from Taliesin to heart in my upcoming games and trying to really pay attention and listen in and actively participate with my ears in what the other players are doing. Be the audience that I want to receive. I recommend you do the same. If you like the tip, make sure you give some love over to Tech Raptor. If you enjoyed this video and you want more D&D and TTRPG content, please consider giving the video a thumbs up and leaving a comment to put it in your algorithm, as well as subscribing to the channel. You can also support me directly via Patreon at patreon.com/levelupdm, or by becoming a member here on YouTube. Thank you all so much, and until next time, good luck in your adventures.